Ah yes, The Evil Within. The game that not only dropped us into a psychological horror matrix, but also
made you scream when the title menu made a noise.
it was loud and unexpected.
You spewed your drink on your keyboard twice.
That was unrelated. Look, Sniv.
Sniv? Whoa, man, it's crumbly, salacious Belongfellow the Third to you.
You told me your name was Sniv. Look, if you want to be part of this, you're going to have to be respectful.
To who? The camera.
It all begins like any other murder mystery. Detective Sebastian Castellanos, a veteran cop from Crimson City, has seen it all. Blood, bodies, the worst people can do to each other. He's sharp, stoic, and a bit rough around the edges. But when he's called to Beacon's mental hospital to investigate a disturbance, well, needless to say, things become disturbing.
Well, if a place has a name Beacon in it, it's either haunted, a secret lab, or the setting of a disappointing Netflix series.
Thanks for the input, Mr. Rotten Tomatoes.
You know, if I had a rotten tomato...
The building's gutted. Staff and patients are either slaughtered or missing. It's like reality just fell apart. Then comes the footage. Security cams that show something impossible. Officers lifted and killed, but by who or what? And just like that, everything changes. Sebastian is pulled into a world that isn't his. This is STEM, a machine that links minds in a shared world. But inside the system, the rules are broken. Nothing is stable. Space folds in on itself. And at the center of it all is Ruvik. Real name, Ruben Victoriano. A brilliant but shattered mind by trauma, now shaping this world into something supernatural and chaotic. Every hallway Sebastian walks, every shift in reality is a direct projection of Ruvik's pain. And survival means more than just staying alive. It means figuring out what the hell is going on inside this man's head.
Have we tried unplugging and plugging it back in?
I don't think it works like that, Sniv.
You don't know until you try.
Sure. This isn't a simple case of man trapped in simulation. I mean, we could draw a line to movies like The Matrix. Both worlds are false. Both heroes question what's real. But where The Matrix is about control through machines, The Evil Within is about control through trauma.
Trauma with legs?
This is where the game gets under your skin, because here, monsters don't hide in the dark. They are the dark. They're not just enemies, they're manifestations. Every terrifying creature Sebastian faces is born from pain, obsession, and just pure horror. They don't just want to kill him, they want to show him something. So the question becomes, what is Sebastian really fighting?
His therapy bill? His taxes?
Let's take a closer look at these monsters, from the simpler, less terrifying ones, all the way down to what I think is the absolute scariest in the game. At first glance, the Haunted may look like your standard enemy. A rotting corpse, glowing eyes, blood everywhere. You've seen it all before. But when you learn where they actually come from, it gets a whole lot deeper.
Ah, right. Zombies with lore, my favorite.
They're not zombies, Sniv. These things were people, real people, victims of the STEM project, trapped in a shared nightmare and reshaped by Ruvik's mind. And once you're in his world, you don't die. You either go insane or your identity gets completely erased. What's left becomes one of these things. That's what haunted means. They're haunted by what they used to be. And now they're just husks. And what really haunts me is just how much of their humanity still shows. You can find notes, scribbles, clues that they know something's wrong. One obsesses over mannequins as if those flawless, unbroken forms are a memory of what they once were. It's terrifying, not because they're monsters, but because they're so close to being human. Again.
Like people who still use Facebook.
Oh, hey. Come on now, that's just mean. Ruvik even says it himself. They're clay shaped in his image. He's not just killing people in STEM, he's rewriting them. He's turning them into extensions of himself. That's why they all fear fire. Ruvik was burned as a kid, and now that trauma is baked into every part of his world, including his creations, fire doesn't just kill them, it terrifies them. What's wild is, the game uses that fear of turning into a haunted, watching Joseph start to become one, seeing him struggle with it, admitting that part of him wants to give in.
Hey, yo, that's tough. My man's glitching, and no one's got the patch notes, yo, dog.
First of all, Sniv, what was that? Secondly, that's kind of the whole point. This world breaks you before it decides to kill you. The barbed wires, the restraints, the open wounds, they're not just for looks. They mean something, like pain or confinement, or trauma pushed so deep it becomes physical. The Haunted may be one of the most common enemy encounters in the game, but they're not filler. They are literally the evil within. You ever come across a monster in a game that doesn't just creep you out, but actually feels like it means something? No? Well, look at this thing. It's...
I think I'm gonna puke.
Yeah. The alter ego is basically two people forced into one body. It's freakishly tall, like around 6'7", and its whole frame is thin but muscular.
Funny, that was the same description as my dating profile.
Really? Muscular. 6'7"? But you're like this tall, and you're built like this. It just... and the muscles? What stands out right away are the two heads. One looks like a person and the other, well... the other's a pulsing, twitching mass of flesh, barely a face at all. They're fused together, part of the same skull even. Its skin is pale, veined, almost wet looking. Its posture is broken, hunched and stumbling like its body can't decide on how to move. One half pulls it forward, the other holds it back. The alter ego is what happens when someone with dissociative identity disorder, I'm serious, look this up, is pulled into STEM. Instead of just existing in one mind, their alternate personalities split and blend into a single physical body. One side, the aggressive feral head, overpowers the other, feeding off of it like a parasite.
See, this is why I don't date anymore. Too many red flags and heads.
I'm pretty sure you were the red flag, Sniv. 6'7". Muscular? Yeah, right. Here's the part that stuck with me the most. The symbolism. The alter ego is pure visual metaphor. The two heads, one seems normal, one hideous. This represents the split's identity, like the acceptable face we show others, and the darker, hidden side we try to hide. They hate each other. They're at war. That internal conflict is literally tearing them apart, and the creature's movements reflect that. An article I read during the making of this video pointed out something interesting. One of the two heads had a personality that was more interested in unaliving itself toward the other. That's how deep this hate runs.
Not as deep as D's.
Sniff.
What?
Families might be watching. There's an audio log that pretty much explains it. He talks about aberrant brainwave patterns and describes what happens when one personality tries to override the other. What he gets is STEM trapping both, forcing them to coexist in a single body. And the result is something that hates itself from the inside out. Ruvik, who controls the STEM world, finds this fascinating. So every time you see an alter ego, you're looking at what was once a human that allowed their inner conflict control their emotions and ultimately the kind of person they really are.
Ah, I get it. So the real monster might just be what you let yourself become.
That was almost profound, Sniv.
Give me a minute and I'll ruin it.
Of course. Right. If there's one enemy that sums up what the game is all about, fear, brutality, psychological horror, it's the Sadist.
Say what?
Sadist.
What?
What? From the second you lay your eyes on him, the Sadist
Say what?
leaves a lasting impression that carries weight for Sebastian from then on. He's this massive, blood-soaked dude. Filthy tank top and torn pants, heavy boots, and a face completely covered by a metal spiked mask.
Yep, that's me after leg day and 3 dry scoops of protein.
The spikes on his mask, the chains on his body, they might have once held him back, but now they're a part of him. He's the face of STEM's madness, even though it's hard to see his. And then there's that chainsaw. You hear it before you see him. It's clearly a nod to Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but here it feels even more deranged. Every detail, from the rusted metal to the blood on his clothes, screams one thing: a murderer. What really sets the Sadist apart is how he's used throughout the game. His appearances are paced deliberately. Each one says something about where Sebastian is in his journey and where we are as players. First time, you run. Later, you fight. Eventually, you beat him. That arc follows Sebastian's growth, fear to resistance, victim to survivor. He's pretty much a slasher boss with a chainsaw, but he's also a benchmark, a way for the game to say, this is who you were. Now, let's see who you've become. So where did this guy come from? Well, according to the game's lore and model viewer, he's described as a creature born from the mind of a murderer merged with Ruvik's madness. That phrase is key. It means the Sadist isn't just Ruvik's creation. He's a person, or rather what's left of one, a violent murderer whose consciousness was absorbed into STEM. But once inside, Ruvik didn't erase him, he amplified him, which means this guy was already a monster. STEM just let him off the leash. Alright, so let's talk about the Keeper. A dude with a massive safe for a head who carries around a hammer about the size of 5 stacked Snivs.
Yeah, well, it says a lot when the scariest thing in this game is proper storage.
The Keeper just looks terrifying. Broad shoulders, leather apron, rubber boots. Then there's the head, or what's supposed to be one. Not a mask, not a helmet, an actual iron safe. Chained shut, rusted, sometimes bleeding. And when it opens, there's something inside. A face, sort of. Melted, twitching. Like trauma got trapped in a steel box and grew teeth. There's also a heavy box strapped to his back. No clue what it does though. But if you ask me, it feels like he's carrying around a burden. Not just physically heavy, but emotionally too. Every piece of the Keeper's design reinforces one theme: punishment. Whether you understand why or not, if this thing is here, you're probably going to suffer.
Built like he's about to end you and file the report right after.
So what is he carrying? Well, it's a meat tenderizer. One end is blunt, meant for smashing skulls. The other is spiked, perfect for impaling heads through the floor. And the other hand, a bag. Not a casual, over-the-shoulder kind of bag. This thing is stuffed with severed heads, broken tools, and medical equipment. The kind of stuff that you'd find in a back room of an asylum. The bag leaks. It drips, actually. You can see sharp metal ends poking through. Specifically, a long metal tool used for lobotomizing patients. The Keeper doesn't just kill, it collects. And it's very clear that what it collects used to be people. Your first encounter with this monster is in Chapter 7, After entering a chamber filling with gas that's poisonous to you, this is where you quickly discover that it's pretty much like a very intense puzzle maze, finding your way until... Not only do you have to time your escape and avoid dying by the gas, but you have this massive dude who's not stopping and is persistent to get you. Your solution? Well, you can try to kill him and he'll go down, but you'll quickly realize that it only buys you the very little time you have, as he'll just spawn back in and start chasing you again. Your best bet is to just focus on getting the hell out of there. But even if you do escape, it's not the last. You'll find him again in chapter 13. No music, no fighting, just footsteps. And if he finds you, there's no winning, just running. Then once more in chapter 15. This time, there's no more hiding. Just 2 safes, 1 guy, and 2 hammers.
I see where this is going.
Really? Where?
By any chance, do you know if there was a cup involved?
So what is this thing? What is the Keeper? He's the safe Ruvik used to store his research, just with legs, mixed in with the rage he felt when his life's work was stolen.
So, Ruvik made a sentient password-protected killer?
Actually, yeah, that's pretty accurate. The Keeper is loaded with terrible meaning. That safe on his head, well, that's repression, secrets, the barbed wire, trauma, traps. His name, the Keeper, as in Keeper of Secrets or Keeper of Control. In the haunted recesses of the mind, monsters aren't born, they're made. And in the world of the evil within, some are made in pairs.
Oh, are we talking twins? Like the spooky kind? Or the hot?
Sniv,
What?
I was in the process of doing this really cool intro, and you just had to interrupt asking if they're hot?
Well, are they?
This is the story of Neun and Zehn, the twin giants who guard the gates of the Cedar Hill Church. Massive, deformed, and just sad. A towering beast nearly 10 feet tall. Muscles ripple beneath pale skin, his limbs heavy with power. But it's his face, or rather the lack of one, that draws the attention. An iron mask covers his eyes and ears, bolted shut like a muzzle for a beast too dangerous to even see the world around him. Chains hang from his wrists and ankles. He charges like a bull. He fights like a berserker, blinded by the rage he's held in, literally. And then there's Zehn, Neun's twin, but so much different. Zehn's body matches his brother's in size, but there's a difference. One side of his head has a distinctive bulge. We'll get to that in a bit. His face, unlike his brother, is exposed, allowing you to see just how confused he really is. Together, Neun and Zehn become a twin boss encounter. Zehn comes first, freed in a dramatic fashion. He moves slow, but he hits hard. Then Neun. He bursts through a brick wall, an unstoppable force, charging, grabbing, crushing.
Oh sure, let's add a Kool-Aid Man entrance to my trauma.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. One brother zones you out, the other rushes you down. Together, you have no choice. Therefore, you must fight. But beneath their rage lies a deeper, more disturbing truth. Neun and Zehn were once babies. Hard to imagine, but stay with me here. Conjoined twins at first, taken by the Cedar Hill Church cult after their parents abandoned them and pretty much turned them into a test subject for the cult. That means they cut them apart, pumped them full of growth serum, and watched them balloon into giants within mere days. All of this was recorded for research, every painful step. Neun's mind broke under rage, Zehn's under fear. Their bodies were separated, but their fates were always linked. Though twins, Neun and Zehn represents two sides of the same coin. Neun, usually the aggressor, and Zehn, well, the victim. One breaks chains while the other never really learned how. Not every monster in the game stems from being human. Some were never people at all, in fact. Some were just pets. The Sentinel is, at its core, a dog. A very big, very disturbing dog. It served as Cedar Hill Church's guard dog, loyal, strong, protective, until the cult got involved. What's left now is this gigantic, mutated wolf thing. Its neck torn open, showing a second mouth. Its real head just dangles, and a single eye bulges out of its skull. Its body wrapped in barbed wire, a reoccurring theme in the game. It doesn't look like it was born this way. It looks like something done this to it. You meet this very big dog at the end of chapter 6. At first, it's caged, sleeping. You walk by it singing "Who Let the Dogs Out?" And of course, someone let the dog out. Or rather, it breaks out. Joseph gets knocked instantly, his glasses gone, and you're left standing in a graveyard, alone. This thing, well, it used to be a real dog. The cult at Cedar Hill raised it, cared for it, used it as their protector. Then the cult started experimenting on it. What does that mean? Well, they fed it corpses, bodies of the people they sacrificed in the catacombs, turned it into a disposable system, a trash compactor with teeth, if you will. Therefore, slowly but inevitably, it changed. One cultist wrote, "I don't dare take my eyes away from that animal. It may think I am another offering." That's not fear of a beast. That's fear of your own creation. And then there's Daniel. You find a letter, a man looking for his wife, Donna. She was taken by the cult to be fed to the dog. He writes, "I won't let her be a sacrifice." He goes into the crypt. We never see him again. The implication is clear. Love didn't survive, but the monster did. Now remember, all of this happens inside of STEM. Therefore, Ruvik didn't make the Sentinel, but he knew about it. And like everything else in STEM, he made it worse. The barbed wire, well, That's Ruvik's thing. It shows up everywhere in this world. It's not just pain, it's control. It's his trauma made visible. If you strip it all down, the Sentinel is about trust broken. It's a guardian turned executioner, a pet turned predator, a thing that was meant to protect, corrupted until it only knew how to kill. That's the point of the church, too. On the surface, it's a sanctuary. Beneath, experimentation, torture, and sacrifice. The dog is just the symptom. The horror just goes deeper.
What is it?
I dropped my glasses back there.
Fuck.
Leslie, are you all right?
It should have. Why didn't it? That's it. That's why.
Doctor, run!
He wants the same thing as us. He wants out!
This game, as we know by now, is full of monsters, but not the kind that hides under the bed. These ones were made layer by layer, by science, by suffering. And at the bottom of it all, twisting and turning, is the Amalgam Alpha. Not a person, not a creature, but a pile of people, forgotten and still moving. Let's start with what we're looking at. The Amalgam Alpha is roughly 4 meters tall, but that's almost secondary to what it's made of. Its body is a mess of human parts. Torsos, limbs, ribs, all knotted together. Arms reach out where legs should be. Feet come out of the spine. It's just hideous. Everything is held in place by chains, like someone tried to hold it together, but not for long. There's no face, just a slit in its chest, a gaping mouth filled with broken bones. And behind it, dragging like a tail, is something worse. A flower-like eye, always watching. It scans the room like it's searching for a hint of its past or a memory. This thing isn't alive. It's a leftover. Test subjects who died while connected to STEM. Their conscious, whatever was left, fused, and over time, those dead thoughts became one, like a hive mind. Registered in logs as subject CB-210, a test case, a lab note, a mistake, and Ruvik, well, he kept it, perfected it, used it as a weapon, because even failures can be useful. So what does it mean? Why does a monster like this exist in the world of the evil within? Well, it's a body horror metaphor, sure, but it's also something else. The Amalgam Alpha is a visual representation of lost identity. Think about it. It's what happens when people are deconstructed, mind, body, soul, and then dumped into a system that doesn't care if they stay whole. If you want to go deeper, and I might be reaching with this one, you can also think of it as a projection of Sebastian's own guilt. The lives lost, the people he couldn't save, all smashed together into one lumbering accusation. And now it's chasing him, just like the past always does. There's something different about fear when it comes from the water, something primal. They call it Shigyo, a name that translates to death fish. Shigyo is an aquatic monster, a disturbing mix of corpses drifting silently in the flooded ruins of Crimson City. It's over 6 meters long, weighing well over a ton, and its skin is bloated and stitched, molded by water and time. 3 sets of scaly arms paddle through the darkness, while a thick tail forming from fused legs propels it forward. Its head is crowned with long, stringy hair trailing like seaweed, and instead of a face, there's only a mouth. It was once a woman, afraid of drowning, afraid of her smile, and now her fear is that monster. Shigyo doesn't show up in cutscenes. It doesn't knock down doors or chase you down the hall. It just waits in the water. In Chapter 11, you're forced to swim through that water, unable to use any of your weapons and making you more vulnerable than before. So, how do you survive something you can't see? Well, distractions. Throughout the chapter, bodies hang above the water, some hanging from cranes, some caught between the debris. Shoot them and they fall. And Shigyo follows the scent just long enough for you to slip on by. There are no lore entries about this interesting monster in the game, no files, no journals. All we have to go off of is in the model viewer notes. Shigyo is what happens when you die inside of STEM. Someone who drowned during an experimentation. When her mind was pulled into Ruvik's world, it never came back. Her fear of water, of her body, of the braces on her teeth, all of it fixed into something inhuman. The mouth, the teeth, the braces. Somewhere in there is a person that once worried about how they looked when they smiled. Most monsters in The Evil Within are made from trauma, identity, and fear. It's the main running themes of the game. But the Cadaver, well, this thing is just proof that within the system, death isn't final. You only meet cadavers in Julie Kidman's DLC chapters, the assignments and the consequence. And at first, they just look like corpses until they start crawling toward you on all fours, ribcage open, swollen with glowing sacs, dragging themselves across the floor.
No, too many limbs. I'm out.
Really? That's the deal breaker? Too many limbs? But they're blind. Well, okay, except if you make a noise. Well, then they'll come straight for you and, well, blow up.
You know, one of these things might have been my dad. Always blew up for any small noise I made.
Really?
Yeah, except for that one time. He went to the grocery store outside of town. Happiest I'd ever seen him.
Why outside of town? Wait, why outside of town though?
He said all the stores in town were out of milk. I hadn't seen him since. If only he knew I was lactose intolerant.
These guys are pretty much life-size minds. And those glowing sacks, well, they change color. White would equal calm, yellow curious, and, well, red. Red means...
Hey, I have one of those.
What?
A glowing sack.
There's no big lore dump for the Cadaver. No journal, but the model viewer and concept arts gives us a clue. These things form when a certain type of haunted dies without being burned. The infection spreads, their bodies mutate, and they come back. It's not that deep, but in STEM, nothing is allowed to rest. Not people, not bodies, and not mistakes. If you don't deal with something properly, it comes back. Worse.
So the cadavers are like those horror version of you up texts?
Pretty much, except this one explodes.
This thing gonna run?
Only one way to find out.
Shit!
What are you doing? Answer me.
You probably remember the bus scene. Everything's chaos. And then there's this thing that shows up. Huge, fleshy, spider legs. This is Heresy. And it just might be the most disturbing monster in the game. 9 meters tall, a bloated mass of rotting tissue and tumor-like growths. Its legs are sharp and spindly, spider-like. Its torso, well, a giant sack of meat that feeds on its own waste through a system of tubes. It's a walking contradiction, organic and decaying, alive and already dead.
So, like the inside of a Hot Pocket?
Don't do that. And here's what makes Heresy unique. It's not tied to Ruvik's memories. It's not a symbolic trauma. It's a failed STEM subject. Someone whose mind collapsed so completely inside the simulation, it formed a new entity. And now, it devours the consciousness of anything it touches. Most monsters in STEM are projections of someone's pain. Heresy is what happens when even the system can't hold it together. It's the result of a total psyche breakdown. Identity, ego, self, all gone. What's left? Well, a being that feeds. Not for power, not for revenge, just because that's all it knows. Even Ruvik doesn't control it. Heresy operates outside his influence, which means it's a threat not just to you, but to him too. It's the one monster in this world that feels truly untamed. Its name is a clue. Heresy, a rejection of doctrine, a break from accepted truth. That's what this monster represents. A total collapse of reason, a failure of belief, a system that no longer understands what it is. Now, for some monsters, they don't need an intro. No cutscenes, no dialogue. They just appear like they've been waiting. Everything about it already tells you what it is. This is trauma, and both the name and its design are completely intentional. Trauma stands just under 7 feet tall, but it feels much larger when you're face to face, or no face, with it. That's mostly because of the massive wooden crossbeam strapped against its back. It walks hunched over, half bound by chains. One arm is completely useless, shackled to the beam. The other ends in a long, hooked claw that it uses to swipe, drag, and impale. Its head completely covered in sagging skin. The whole body is deprived of nutrients, pale skin pulled over sharp bones and muscle, the beam on its back, the heavy chains, the impaling hook. This thing looks tortured, not just monstrous. You first encounter a trauma haunted early in chapter 10, right after entering Ruvik's lab complex. It doesn't make an entrance, it just shows up and starts moving once you trigger the right door. Trauma is blind, so it hunts by sound. Make a noise, a bottle, a sprint, or door opening, and it'll charge. Its attack pattern is built around pressure. It moves slowly at first, dragging its beam and hook, but the second it hears you, it sprints and attacks with huge sweeping swings. After taking enough damage, the beast will tear the wooden beam off its own back. This frees its second arm, making it faster and grants the ability to take you out instantly. Now let's talk about the design. The cross beam, the shackles, the chain. These aren't just horror tropes, they're symbolic. The cruciform plank on its back clearly references punishment, imagery loaded with religious meaning. And Ruvik's backstory involves a strict religious father. So there's a good chance this isn't just visual flair. It's a reflection of how Ruvik sees suffering under imposed faith.
Analyzing data.
You hear high heels clicking down a hallway. A white beam of light scans across the floor, and then a voice that hisses. This is the Shade, a key monster in the Evil Within's DLC, and one of the most symbolic enemies in the entire series. The Shade is a feminine figure that, at first glance, echoes Julie Kidman's silhouette, but the resemblance breaks down quickly. Instead of a head, it has a spotlight, a literal searchlight mounted where the face should be. Its eyes are mechanical. Its body is wrapped in shredded white cloth, resembling a lab coat or a uniform. It has no visible arms. Its legs are long and thin, ending in bright red high heels. The Shade only appears in the assignments and the consequence, the DLC chapters that follow Julie Kidman's side of the story. It's not a boss fight in the traditional sense. Instead, it watches you, adding the tension of something persisting onto you, showing up in tense stealth sections where Julie has no real way to fight back. Unlike many other monsters in the game, the Shade is not part of Sebastian's story. It's unique to Julie, and it doesn't exist outside of the STEM simulation. Within the series, the Shade appears after Julie is injected and linked to Ruvik's mental world. It's a manifestation born from Julie's consciousness, Ruvik's influence, or both. Its white clothing and red heels clearly parallel Julie's design. Its obsession with Leslie mirrors Julie's mission from Mobius, and its voice, whispering, matches Ruvik's desire to use Leslie as a vessel. All of this points to a dual origin. The shade is part of Julie's mind, reflecting her internal doubts, fears, and past. And it's also Ruvik's will, pushing her toward Leslie for her own escape plan. This duality runs through the DLC. Julie is trapped between Mobius, the agency that owns her, and Ruvik, the entity trying to manipulate her from within STEM. And the shade becomes the literal expression of that tension. The shade's spotlight could be interpreted as judgment, forcing Julie to confront what she's buried. Its light exposes secrets, but also brings death. The fact that it can help or hurts, illuminating hidden Mobius symbols at times, reinforces that it isn't just a monster. It's also a part of her mind trying to show her the truth, even if the truth hurts. When it speaks, it says Ruvik's words. When it attacks, it does so to get closer to Leslie. It behaves like an agent of his will, sent to push Julie toward outcomes that benefits him, not her. So symbolically, it's also about possession, not in the literal sense, but about being used by others. Ruvik, Mobius, her own past. Julie is surrounded by forces trying to take ownership over her decisions. And the shade is the thing that forces her to finally push back.
His work isn't motivated by fear or social standards. He's more pure. I would say that he is obsessed with the chance to relive and remold reality so he can be prepared again. His scarring is heavy, both physically and emotionally, but he longs for his
Hey Sniv,
What?
has arms, black hair that drags across the floor, claws like knives, and screams?
Well, Bob, I'm gonna have to go with your mom.
Laura, Sniv. Laura, it's Laura. Jeez. Oh my god. She's one of the most iconic monsters in the game, and also one of the most tragic, because before STEM, she was Ruvik's sister. When they were children, Ruvik and Laura snuck into a barn. Locals set it on fire as a prank. Ruvik escaped. Laura didn't. She burned, slipped into a coma, and died. Ruvik never recovered. The STEM project was his obsession with bringing her back. But what he got wasn't her. Laura is what happens when love becomes obsession, when grief becomes violence, and when memory becomes a monster. She doesn't use weapons. She uses presence. She screams. She moves through walls. She kills you instantly unless you burn her.
Oh, of course. Fire.
The thing that killed her is the only thing that can stop her. Because this isn't healing, it's trauma. Looping, burning, living. The devs said Laura was born from Ruvik's memory, but it wasn't a sweet one. It was twisted. She's not a monster, she's a reminder that the pain doesn't fade, it echoes. So what is The Evil Within really? A horror game, sure. A gore fest? Yeah, sometimes. But deeper than that, it's about memory, control, and how pain doesn't stay buried. It builds, reshapes itself, it manifests.
Into zombies? Tentacle dogs. Oh, and fishes with braces.
Sure, that too. But not just that. It's about what led them to become one. Alright, scared ones, thanks for watching, and if you made it this far, you either really love horror or you're trapped inside of STEM right now. Like, comment, subscribe, and why don't you let us know down below which monster kept you up at night?
By the way, you are in a simulation right now. Yeah, you.
Sniv, don't
Watching.
say. You guys are not in a simulation. You're fine. Don't listen to us. Alright, you know what? We'll see you guys on the next one.
I'll start glitching by morning.